Welcome back, adventurers. Today we have Fjord, the Sea's Champion. Bit of a drunken sailor here. He is a 6-hand size 28 health character. Champion, Mighty 9, and Packbound are his character traits, and his symbols are Death, Order, and Water. I've gone with the Death build today, and I hope you'll see why. So, what does Fjord want to do? What does this sea captain want to do? Well, he has an enhance to commit himself. You may try to play one card with Spellbolt in its name from your discard pile as your next card this turn. So, very reminiscent of Kurogiri 2, but Kurogiri 2 would have to remove cards from his discard pile to reach an attack. And very also reminiscent of Yusuke Urameshi Team Leader, who can play Spirit cards from his discard pile, but he has to remove the card after it resolves. Fjord just gets to play any Spellbolt from his discard pile, regardless of where it is in there, and it doesn't remove itself, so very powerful recycling of his abilities, basically +1 hand size over a turn cycle. He also has a response that is tenacious, or playable while committed. After your spell or weapon attack deals damage, seal one rival foundation. Your next attack gets +2 damage. Now a foundation that, or any card that is sealed basically has no abilities for the rest of the turn. So very powerful to be able to turn off our rival's best defensive pieces simply by dealing damage. So, let's see what attacks we're dealing with here. Mostly Spellbolts. The first is Spellbolt and Sword Swipe, a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 5 high for 5 with a 2 high block, Fury ranged in spell and weapon, a lot of keywords here. As a blitz, we can discard one card. If we discarded a spell this way, we get to ready one foundation that has not been readied this combat phase. And if we discarded a weapon, we get to freeze one rival foundation. And if we discarded a card that is both spell and weapon, we get access to both abilities. Isn't that fun? We also have the second blitz, and kind of the main reason you want to play Fjord. Each of your attacks with Spellbolt in the name gain Frenzy this turn. Now, Frenzy is a blitz speed keyword ability, and that ability reads, as a blitz, this attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for every attack that your rival has blocked this turn. So that's huge. That is really powerful, and it doesn't say each of your other attacks with Spellbolt in the name, so Spellbolt and Sword Swipe will give itself Frenzy as well, so in case your rival has blocked an attack, you gain a blitz speed keyword ability at blitz speed. So since you're still in that blitz window, you can still activate it. So effectively stacking all of those stats if your rival's playing very defensively can really help break through those walls. And another card that would really like that Frenzy keyword is Hexing Spellbolt. This is a 5/3, 4 low for 6 with a 2 mid block, EX3, ranged and spell. EX3 being an enhance that says spend any number of momentum, and for each momentum you spend, you get +X speed. X equals your EX rating, so in this case 3. So if you spend 2 momentum for the EX3, you get 6 speed. Pretty easy. And as a response, after this attack deals damage, your rival sacrifices one face-up ready foundation and builds the top card of their deck face down. So that is really cool. Your rival does get to choose which face-up ready foundation they get to destroy, but usually if they're, keeping them up, they want to use those abilities, so you're taking those away, which is really strong. Next we have Arcane Spellbolt, a 4/3, 4 high for 3 with a 2 low block, ranged and spell are its keywords. As a blitz, we have to seal one ready foundation in our stage. This attack is +X damage, X equals the difficulty of the sealed foundation. So you will see when we get to the foundations, we do have some 3 difficulty foundations that are only useful really on our rival's turn. So those are key pieces that we can seal for a bunch of extra damage here. And you will also notice that these top 3 Spellbolts each have a different block zone. So we can commit Fjord in order to block with them from our discard pile, regardless of what type of attack our rival's throwing at us. Our last Spellbolt is Mariner Spellbolt, a 3 difficulty, 3 control, 1 mid for 4 with a 2 mid block and the spell keyword. As a response, after this attack deals damage, we add one rival foundation from their stage to their hand. We get to choose. So we can put their best card up into their hand, and now they have effectively -1 hand size on their next turn unless they review it. So they either review a card and draw up, or if they want to keep all those cards, they just draw one less card in the turn. And that could be the difference between surviving an offensive threat turn and, going 0-2. Next we have Fathom Blade Binding. This is a 7 difficulty, 3 control, 5 high for 7 with a 0 mid-block, which is a great block modifier for a very good reason. It has stun 2, spell and weapon. Stun 2 meaning your rival commits 2 foundations as an enhance. Very strong. It has a static that says that while this card is in your card pool, all block modifiers get +1. So do not block with this card, because all of your block modifiers will get +1. That makes it harder to block things. But if you attack with it, or find a way to get it into your card pool during your turn, all of your rivals' block modifiers get +1, making it harder to block your attacks, which is really powerful. Especially when combined with this champion blitz down here. We are a champion, so we get access to this blitz ability. If we took damage last turn, this attack gets +3 speed. It becomes an 8 high 7, while giving +1 to your rival's block modifiers. That's a really good ability, and this is a really solid rare card. I really dig this and the design of it. I think it's really, really cool. Also, if I seem out of breath, this is because this is the second time I'm recording this video. I didn't realize until after I finished recording this video the first time that I never actually hit record, because I'm still an amateur. But moving on, our last attack is Big Freaking Explosion, a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 5 high for 5 with a 2 high block. It has ally, ranged, spell, and tech. As an enhance, we spend 1 momentum and mill 3, so discard the top 3 cards of our deck. This attack gets +1 damage for each attack in our discard pile. If we milled 3 attacks this way, we do lose health equal to half of this attack's damage rounded down after it resolves, but high risk, high reward, and this is a great way to fill the discard pile with these hex bolts, or these spell bolts, that we're going to want to play later, since we can just commit our character to play any one we want. Big Freaking Explosion is going to see a lot of play this set, I think. It is a very good, bomb card, no pun intended. It's very good utility. It's just a very solid card. So, moving on to our non-attack cards, let's start with assets. We have Dwethvar, the Star Razor, a 2/5 with a 1 high block. It's an asset. It has unique, vestige, and weapon. As a static, if our character is a champion, which we are, this card gets -1 difficulty. So it's a 1 difficulty card. Really good. As an enhance, we can commit it to seal 1 rival foundation, just automatically turn off the abilities to their best piece, either on our turn or theirs. Or as a response, we can commit it after we take 5 or more damage from an attack. Our rival has to play a non-attack card as their next form, or pass. Now, if you're unable to play a non-attack card as your next form, like say you just drew all orange cards and maybe like blue cards, like actions that don't have form abilities, the pass means your turn ends. It is the end of your turn. You are passing the turn to your rival. But they may lose 6 health to cancel this ability. And while that's kind of bad, because you do want them to play a non-attack card so that they effectively have extra progressive for the rest of the turn, dealing a full attack's worth of damage on your rival's turn is amazing. That is really cool. Reversals are no longer printed because of this. However, if they are low enough to where that 6 health really matters, maybe they just do have to take that extra progressive difficulty. It puts your rival in a really tight spot math-wise. Next we have Fenthras, another vestige, a 2/5 with a 2 mid-block, unique vestige and weapon. Enhance, our ranged attack gets +1 speed, and if we have an action card in our card pool, we may change that attack's zone. We will not have action cards in our card pool, but everything but Mariner's Spellbolt and Fathom Blade Binding are ranged attacks. So that's just free speed Excuse me, Sam, but you are tied up in my cord. I love you, but you're a pain sometimes. So giving speed, +1 speed for free to all of our attacks but Mariner Spellbolt and Fathom Blade Binding is pretty good. And then as a response, we can commit this card. After a ranged attack deals damage, our rival has to make a check against a difficulty of 7. If they fail, their character gets committed. So they usually might check a 5, because 5s are the most common check in a deck. So they'd have to commit 2 foundations or commit their character. And sometimes those extra 2 foundations could be the difference between them being able to defend against your onslaught or you winning the game, especially when you're increasing speed with Fenthras. Well, not anymore, but you have been this whole time. But Fathom Blade Binding, increasing their block modifiers, giving all of your things Frenzy, so extra speed there. It could be the difference between life and death in a game. And for our action, I chose Showdown, a 3 difficulty, 4 control with a 3 high block. Response, after you block with this card, commit 2 rival foundations. Pretty simple. We get to choose their 2 best pieces and turn them sideways after we block with Showdown. And a response that almost doesn't see much play, but is probably going to see more play. Response, commit 2 foundations. After your rival plays an ability on an action card, cancel it. There are already quite a few good action cards in the meta right now, and we're getting even more actions and action-centered characters in Heroes of Exandria, so I'd expect to see that bottom response probably played a little bit more often. Maybe not a lot, but more than you're normally seeing it now. Excuse me. Alright, on to our foundations. We have Daring Swordplay. This is a 2/5 with a 2 low block, and the Breaker 1 keyword, which means if we block with this card, our rival's next check to play a card gets -1, which is really good. Really strong defensive ability there. And Enhance, commit, this attack gets +2 speed. If it's blocked, your next attack this turn gets +1 speed. So, making it harder to block with the attack that's going on now, and if they do, our next one's also harder to block. So, really got to decide on whether or not my attack's going to get +2 damage and I'm going to seal something, or you're just going to start tapping out to block all of my stuff. Next we have Show of Strength, a 3/5 with a 3 mid block. Response, commit, after you play an attack, it gets +3 damage, which is huge. And this champion response, Tenacious, or playable while committed. We remove Show of Strength. After we pass a check against a difficulty of 7 or greater to play an attack, draw 1 card. So this doesn't say printed difficulty. So it's not just if we played Fathom Blade Binding, but if we played Big Freaking Explosion as our 3rd card, that's technically a difficulty of 7, 5 plus our 2 progressive difficulty. So that allows us to remove Show of Strength to draw 1 card, as long as we pass that check, which is really cool. I really like that. Next we have Undeterred, a 1/5 with a 2 mid block. Champion Breaker 1, so since we are a champion, we get access to that Breaker 1 ability. And then response, after we block with this card, our rival's next attack gets -2 speed. So not only are we reducing their checks, we're also reducing the speed of their next attack. A very solid defensive piece for champions. Next up is Planning a Coup. This is a 1/5 with a 3 low block. Enhance, sacrifice 1 foundation. This attack gets -1 speed. Pretty simple. It keeps us at a deadlock, and it makes things easier to block. Next we have Eaten by the Bearded Titan. This is a 2/5 with a 3 high block. Enhance Tenacious, sacrifice. This attack gets -3 speed. So we can commit this to pass a check, and then we can always sacrifice it while it's committed to give -3 speed to a rival attack in a pinch. We have Nullifying Force, a 3/5 with a 2 mid block. Response, flip. After an attack is played, its damage cannot be modified. So this is mainly a defensive ability that we would want to use on our rival's turn. So this is a prime example of a card that we'd want to use with Arcane Spellbolt, sealing it, taking away its abilities for the turn, to get that +3 damage, making it a 4 high 6, and then when it comes back to our rival's turn, Nullifying Force has its abilities back. Next up is Fighting for Control, a 2/4 with a 3 high block. As a response during our rival's turn, we flip this card. After our rival makes a check to play a non-foundation card, that check gets -2, but failing the check will not end the combat phase. So this is just a good way to force your rival to use extra resources in order to pass their checks offensively, so that they have less to go on when it comes back to your turn. They have less to defend themselves with. We have Latent Skill, a 2/5 with a 2 high block. Enhance Flip, discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. So you can discard like 2 non-attack cards and hopefully draw some attack cards, or you can discard one of your spell bolts, hopefully draw a better card, maybe a block zone you need defensively, and you can always play your spell bolts from your discard pile with Fjord's ability. So really, really good card draw there. Next up is Split Body Control. This is a 2/5 with a 3 low block. Response, flip. After your attack is blocked, flip 1 rival foundation. So our rival's going to have to choose between us flipping their foundations, which is basically sealing them permanently, or sealing them temporarily when our attack deals damage, and giving our next attack damage. So I like putting my rival into a tough spot like that where they have to think a little bit more. It really helps keep them on their toes. Speaking of thinking more, we have Invincible Body, a 3/5 with a 4 mid block. As a first enhance, remove this card, reduce this attack's damage to 0. So for those who might not know how to use this card on your rival's turn, if your rival plays an enhance, you can pass. Just say, I pass my enhance. Your rival can play another enhance, then you can pass again. As long as you don't play any other enhance abilities before you play Invincible Body's enhance, you can just hold off on that and then basically turn their attack's damage to 0 at any given point. Now, if your rival sees Invincible Body on the field, they can kind of just choose to not boost their attack as much and just force you to deal with it. So it is very much this tap dance of timing, but forcing your rival to make those decisions and think how far they want to go, how many buttons do they want to push, how much do they want to invest in any given attack, could be enough deterrent to help you survive even without it. Because if your rival's not pushing it towards that dangerous threshold, you just don't need to trigger Invincible Body, you don't have to worry about it, and it stays up for the next attack. So it's really good that way. Next we have Botan's Coaching, a 0/5 with a 3 mid block. Enhance Flip, both players discard 1 card and draw 1 card. Simple card cycle, same thought process as Latent Skill. You can discard a card that you don't need, hopefully draw one you do, or you can discard a spell bolt that you can play later in the turn and hopefully draw maybe another attack to play, so it's basically effectively adding another card to your hand. We have Keiko's Aid, a 2/5 with a 3 high block. Response flip, after you block an attack, your rival's next attack gets +2 difficulty. So especially with all the Breaker that we have in this deck, Breaker, Showdown, this is a very good way to stop your rival in their tracks, especially with something like, well, not necessarily with Dwethar, but you do have a lot of defense here of making your rival's attacks more difficult to play. So hopefully you can shut down some of these longer string attacks, or force your rival to overcommit and then punish them on the backswing. We have Syndicate Target, one of the best blocks in the game. It's a 0/6 with a 0 low block. However, when we block with it, we will automatically lose 1 health. So it does have a bit of a cost to it, but losing 1 health is better than losing 10 or 12. Looking at you, Walk the Dog. And lastly, an interesting card, Food. This is a 2/5 with a 3 high block. Enhance Flip, remove 1 non-attack card from your rival's card pool, gain 2 health. So you might be thinking, why do you want to remove cards from your rival's card pool and make it easier for them to play cards because you're getting rid of their progressive difficulty? Well, if you've ever played against a card called Combined Firepower, you know that that card doesn't count towards progressive difficulty anyway, and you don't want it going back to their discard pile, so you can remove it from the game entirely and gain some health out of it. You can do the same thing with City Rampage. They will still get the +2 to their checks, but they won't get the 1 speed and 1 damage. and it removes a combined firepower, completely from the game. Or if you're going up against a Beauregard character, the 2 face down attacks that she gives herself, the 3 speed 3 damage attacks that her ability creates, while they're attacks, they are not attack cards. So you're able to remove them to either end their enhanced step and abort them entirely, or remove the next one so that you don't have to worry about it, and you gain health. So it's just a really cool niche of getting rid of some key, tricky niche pieces, just getting rid of them entirely so that you don't have to worry about them, and gaining a bit of health back. And then we have the bottom enhance. If your rival has no cards in their card pool, your attack gets +1 speed. So it speeds up your first attack, which makes it harder to block, so they have to commit more resources. Or if they don't block it, then your next attack is harder to block, and they would have to use more resources to block that. So just ramping up the speed little by little. It's a really nice tech piece, kind of niche, but I really like it. And that is all I've got for Fjord. I almost called him Fjord again. He's pretty straightforward, except for the playing a card from your discard pile. I like him. He's probably not the forefront of my mental roster of which characters I'm excited to build, but he's pretty neat. I'll probably toy around with him a little bit. But what I think doesn't matter. What do you guys think of the character, of the deck? If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, and if you are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I could use all the support that I can get. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, safe travels.